Weak Boy suddenly awakens the power of the strongest demon god. In the year 1655, a terrifying creature known as Tai Sui emerges from the earth, consuming all living things. It becomes a catastrophic disaster that wipes out entire regions. Then a mysterious man appears. Overnight, Tai Sui vanishes without a trace. Life begins to flourish again, though legends say the creature may one day return. Years later, Gao Ying, a young man, arrives at the Zhangzhou Academy of Fine Arts, the school he's always dreamed of attending. He feels proud to finally become a real college student at his dream academy. However, his excitement fades when an indifferent staff member informs him registration starts the next day. He came too early. He asks if he can use the dormitory in advance, but the staff refuses. With no other option, he asks about nearby lodging. The staff points him toward a hotel on the left side of the street. Standing before the street's main billboard, he confirms the location and comforts himself. Waiting one more day isn't a big deal. He decides to spend the night in the nearby village. Carrying his luggage, he walks through the street, admiring the many small shops while wondering if he can find a decent hotel around. He eventually turns into a quiet alley that feels gloomy and unsettling. The road is uneven. A small shrine catches his attention. It's rare to see such things nowadays. As he looks closer, he notices a pair of glowing eyes from the shrine. It startles him for a moment until a cat jumps out. Relieved, he pets the cat affectionately, finding it cute. But as the sound of a bell rings, the cat suddenly disappears from his arms. Looking around, he notices a nearby hotel entrance. A small piece of dark paper floats in the hallway, followed by a man who throws several more pieces into the air. The man laughs eerily as the papers transform into dark crows that fly straight toward him. Frozen in fear, he can only watch in horror. The scene suddenly shifts. The old man warmly greets him, offers to carry his luggage, and urges him to follow upstairs. As he steps inside, glowing red tentacle-like lights and a yin-yang magic circle briefly appear beneath his feet before vanishing. The old man calls for him to hurry as he climbs the stairs, talking non-stop about the building's history, luxury layout, and the 40 rooms spread across 5 floors. Despite trying to keep up, he struggles to follow the man, who moves quickly and effortlessly while carrying his luggage. They finally reach a room. The old man insists he should stay, offering him a 30% discount and calling it a top-tier room. Gao Ying becomes frustrated. He points out the moldy walls, cobwebs, and foul-smelling quilt that clearly show no one has stayed there for years. As he angrily grabs his luggage to leave, the old man stops him with a serious tone. He guesses that Gao Ying is a freshman at the Academy of Fine Arts. Surprised, he freezes, wondering how the old man could know. The man then begins making flattering comments about his outfit, describing it as having a minimalist yet otherworldly aura, and comparing his look to Van Gogh reborn. He goes on to describe him as a passionate art student with refined taste. Though he doesn't fully understand the old man's words, he finds himself strangely impressed by how accurately they capture his personality. The elderly man moves toward the window. He explains that as an art student, Gao Ying shouldn't miss the room with the best view of Zhongbei. He pulls open the curtains, revealing a breathtaking sunset over the town. Gao Ying stands in awe, captivated by the beauty of the scene. The elderly man continues speaking. This hotel is the closest to Jiangmei and Nanting. He then offers a 10% discount, which confuses Gao Ying since the man had earlier promised 30%. When he points this out, the man pretends not to remember. He points toward the entrance only to notice a portrait on the wall with its face scratched out. The eerie image unsettles him. He demands that the portrait be taken down. The elderly man refuses. It's an ancestral painting with deep origins. His late father had told him never to remove it, warning that if he did, he would meet his destined person after death. Gao Ying, creeped out, decides to leave immediately. However, the elderly man suddenly removes the portrait himself. Behind it, they discover a small hole in the wall. Through the hole, they can see a young woman, Ah Hua, taking a bath in a tub. The old man mutters in disbelief. Something is wrong since there should be a corridor behind that wall. Moreover, Ah Hua's room is supposed to be on the 5th floor while they're currently on the 4th, making the sight even stranger. Out of curiosity, the old man reaches into the hole and unexpectedly pulls out Ah Hua's clothing. Gao Ying is shocked by what he sees. The old man quickly decides to return it and rushes toward the 5th floor. When he reaches the stairs, he notices another hole in the stairwell wall. Ah Hua's hand suddenly reaches through it and snatches her clothing back. The old man can only sigh quietly. The building's structure is a complete mess. Gao Ying catches up and asks what happened, but the man brushes it off, saying everything is fine. Soon after, Ah Hua steps out of her room and asks if something strange happened near her door. He stammers nervously, unable to respond. The old man intervenes, laughing awkwardly and claiming they were just checking out the room. Gao Ying quickly pulls the old man away. The two head downstairs while Ah Hua silently watches them leave. Later, he asks the old man, Uncle Guan, if there's a nearby place to eat. Uncle Guan agrees to show him, but warns him in a serious tone to return before midnight. The warning startles him, but Uncle Guan bursts into laughter, saying he only meant that he goes to bed at 12. Gao Ying, still uneasy, says he'll be back before then and leaves. As he walks away, the lights in Uncle Guan's office go out. Uncle Guan sits alone in the darkness, gazing at a calendar on his desk, his eyes fixed on the date. the 25th. As Gao Ying walks through the lively street, he's fascinated by the glowing store lights and the colorful displays. He stops by several stalls trying different snacks and local dishes. Feeling satisfied after eating, he heads back toward the hotel but realizes he can't find it. Checking his phone, he notices the time. It's already midnight. Just then, he hears a faint scuttling sound nearby. The stone path beneath his feet begins to glow with a soft green light. Ahead, he spots a figure holding a large red lantern, but the person's face is hidden. Before he can take a closer look, his phone rings, snapping him out of the strange vision. He returns to the hotel. Uncle Guan hurriedly closes the blinds and scolds him for coming back so late, saying he'd been worried. As he steps inside, he looks back at the dark alley but sees no one there. He begins to wonder if what he saw was just an illusion. Suddenly, he hears the sound of someone falling and then hopping away. Curious, he decides to follow and record the scene with his phone, thinking the person might be a severe sleepwalker. To his shock, the man suddenly leaps into the river. He rushes forward to stop him, but the moment he touches the man, the white moon above turns crimson. The river and the surroundings become bathed in a red glow. Dark, shadowy figures rise around them. The sleepwalker wakes up in confusion, but Gao Ying quickly covers his mouth to keep him silent. The man then faints. Looking up, he sees a familiar figure floating in the sky. The same man from the portrait in the hotel room. The crimson river ripples violently. Before he can move, something pulls him from below. A massive underwater creature drags him down. He struggles desperately to swim to the surface. Just as he's about to drown, a hand grabs him and pulls him out of the water. It's the man from the portrait. Before he can recover, the man faces the enormous monster that has surfaced from the river. The creature roars and attacks, but the man counters with a burst of green energy. Gao Ying realizes his leg is injured. He tries to crawl away but can't move. He watches as the man tears out one of the monster's fangs and drives it into its eye, destroying the beast in a powerful explosion. The battle ends. Gao Ying collapses to the ground, the poison from his wound spreading through his body. His vision blurs as he weakly gazes at the man, before losing consciousness. Far away, in a place surrounded by countless red lanterns, another figure walks along a long path. He pushes open a massive gate and steps inside, murmuring that the chosen one whom Tai Sui has awaited for 300 years has finally appeared. He ends the call with a quiet, sinister laugh. Gao Ying wakes up suddenly, his heart racing from last night's terrifying events. He checks his leg but finds no injury. It's completely healed. He opens his phone gallery. The video he recorded is gone. Confused, he thinks it was just a nightmare from staying up too late reading comics. As he prepares for college, he notices a news report about a nearby river that mysteriously dried up overnight. The place looks familiar. Shocked, he turns off the television, trying to convince himself it's just coincidence, and leaves. Outside, Uncle Guan greets him, offering another luxurious room. He refuses, saying he'll check into the dormitory instead. At the academy, he's told the dormitory is full. To his frustration, he's directed back to the same hotel. Feeling suspicious, he confronts the staff, accusing them of working with Uncle Guan to scam students. Ah Hua appears from the hotel. Both blush awkwardly. She explains the school recently expanded enrollment. Since new dormitories aren't ready, some students are temporarily housed in nearby hotels. He can move into his dorm tomorrow. He realizes Ah Hua is his senior. He spots Uncle Guan sneaking in with his luggage. He goes to stop him but freezes when he sees a man with a pale face walking out using crutches. He instantly recognizes him, the same person he tried to rescue from the river last night. He asks if they've met before, but the man coldly denies it. As he steps into the hotel, the hallway glows with green light. He finds himself on a massive crimson magic circle. The vision vanishes as Uncle Guan's voice snaps him back. He tells Uncle Guan he must be hallucinating. Uncle Guan dismisses it, scolding him for staying up late. Probably just a nervous breakdown. He insists he saw a Bagua formation and red lines. The man with crutches was there too. The man glares, accusing him of pressing on his mouth and nose so hard he almost suffocated. He hurriedly explains he only did it to keep him quiet and safe. Uncle Guan interrupts, telling them to focus on their business. The man excuses himself. Gao Ying is confused about whether he's still dreaming. Uncle Guan reminds him to register his ID. He hands over his card and heads to his room. Alone, Uncle Guan studies it, his expression grim. The house has chosen Gao Ying. It's been 300 years. The next generation has finally appeared. A businessman listens to his subordinate report that Uncle Guan has again refused to sell. The subordinate suggests teaching him a lesson, but the businessman replies, business should be done through mutual benefit. Once there are no more customers, Uncle Guan will be forced to sell. He asks the half-immortal woman whether she'll need to summon the two masters. She smiles faintly. Everything will begin tonight. Elsewhere, a man wearing a straw hat sits quietly observing the night sky. The 5 floors above are easy to deal with. The real problem lies in the 18 floors hidden underground. If the prince below wakes up, they'll all lose their heads. Meanwhile, Gao Ying sits in his room staring at comics on his phone. He hasn't been able to register for university yet. Ever since he came to this hotel, nothing good has happened. Still, tomorrow he'll finally move into the dormitory. As he lies on the bed, something catches his eye. A small hole appears on the wall. He leans closer, but an invisible force pulls him in. In an instant, he's standing on a massive Bagua formation, surrounded by red, glowing lines. A mysterious man appears, wielding a brush. With a single flick, the man sends him flying out. He jolts awake. It's late at night. He sits up, sweating. A flash of lightning brightens the room, revealing a shadowy figure by the window. Before he can react, the figure kicks him in the face, sending him crashing to the floor. A woman with a cold stare orders him to get out. In another part of the hotel, Uncle Guan lights incense sticks, but wind from the open window blows them out. Small projectiles shoot toward him. He quickly dodges, shielding an antique clock. From the shadows, the Straw Hat Man emerges with a chilling grin. Uncle Guan pulls out a talisman and warns him to leave. The Straw Hat Man charges forward. Uncle Guan activates the talisman, releasing smoke, but he's lifted by telekinesis and slammed against the wall. His hand is pinned by a sharp force. The Straw Hat Man remarks mockingly, he didn't expect tricks from such an old man. Uncle Guan admits he's nothing compared to a god like him. The intruder unwraps the straw covering, revealing glowing marks. He demands the elixir of longevity in the thing beneath the 18th floor. Despite his injuries, Uncle Guan smirks. Whatever lies beneath can't be touched. He secretly pulls out another talisman. In another room, an intruder lands silently. As he moves forward, a black-clad man attacks him without warning. Gao Ying is thrown against the wall by the female intruder. He quickly gets up, but she attacks again. In panic, he grabs his luggage. Clothes fall out. He throws them at her, stunning her momentarily. She becomes furious and chases him. He runs upstairs but gets kicked into Ahua's room. The female intruder charges at Ahua, but she effortlessly sends the woman flying into the bathtub. Realizing Ahua knows martial arts, the intruder attacks again. The two women exchange fast, powerful blows. Ahua skillfully blocks encounters using Wing Chun while he watches in awe, unable to keep up. Uncle Guan is pinned to the wall. The Straw Hat Man takes his talisman and pierces his other hand. He draws bloody symbols on the wall, declaring his intent to turn Uncle Guan into a ghost. Uncle Guan warns him not to provoke Tai Sui. The Straw Hat Man mocks him. Tai Sui must be injured. He removes 2 rings from Uncle Guan's fingers. Ahua lands a heavy strike on the woman's chest, making her cough blood. She follows with quick attacks that slam the intruder against the wall. Ahua puts on her robe calmly while he praises her strength. Elsewhere, the male intruder is chased by the black man wielding nunchaku. But when he stumbles upon the Straw Hat Man, his own boss kills him instantly. The black man faints from shock. Using the rings, the Straw Hat Man senses the entrance to the 18th floor, but notices red energy lines stretching from Gao Ying upstairs. He realizes Gao Ying is the key. Ahua and Gao Ying hear noise. Ahua senses killing intent as the Straw Hat Man appears and stabs her, knocking her down. He spots red lines glowing from Gao Ying and becomes ecstatic. Gao Ying dodges and runs to the rooftop as the Straw Hat Man uses telekinesis to hurl objects. On the rooftop, furniture and debris crash toward him, but he surprisingly lifts a sofa with ease. His wounds heal rapidly. He wonders if he's awakened some power. The Straw Hat Man appears, grabs him by the neck, and begins absorbing the red energy. He screams as the red lines stretch downward through the building, connecting to a massive figure of glowing red energy deep below the 18th floor. Uncle Guan, badly injured, tends to his wounds and notices the incense sticks burning again. He feels his strength fading. Just as he's about to lose consciousness, the building releases a surge of green energy. A mysterious man appears and grabs the Straw Hat Man by the head, forcing him to release Gao Ying before smashing him across the room. Uncle Guan looks at the portrait with a grave expression. The Straw Hat Man has committed a grave sin by offending his ancestors. No death will redeem him. The Straw Hat Man, shaken and terrified, recognizes the mysterious figure and kneels in submission, acknowledging him as the king of Zhenan. 360 years ago, the emperor secretly commanded Guo Erjia to descend to Mount Nanyue for a divine mission. The general chosen was given power over life and death, with the ability to control the vital energy of heaven and earth. History would later remember him as the king of Zhenan. In the present, the Straw Hat Man kneels before the reawakened king, trembling as he apologizes and pleads for his life. He claims he injured someone by mistake. The king coldly orders him to leave. Relieved, the Straw Hat Man bows and begins to retreat. Gao Ying weakly accuses him of lying. He deliberately tried to eat him. Hearing this, the Straw Hat Man drops his act and reveals his true nature. Though he shows respect to the king, he can't leave empty-handed. His survival depends on it. He rushes toward Gao Ying in desperation. The king swiftly intervenes, severing his head with a single hand and throwing his body from the rooftop. The Straw Hat Man's form dissolves into green light. A single crimson twisted nail clatters to the ground. As the king turns to the stunned Gao Ying, a sharp stick shoots toward them. The king catches it effortlessly. Out of the shadows steps a new attacker. The Straw Hat Man's severed head is now attached to the body of the male intruder. The creature mocks the king, speaking of his title as the Master of Heaven. He taunts that last night's events at the Central Plains may have weakened him. Gao Ying can hardly believe what he sees. The Straw Hat Man is somehow still alive. The creature laughs at his disbelief. He once wished for death, but a lingering desire kept him bound to the world. It must be fate that he survives today? His right arm mutates into a jagged spear of bone. He launches a barrage of bone spears toward them. The king shields Gao Ying, moving with blinding speed as he deflects the attacks and counters fiercely. The attacker sneers that Gao Ying must hold great significance for the mighty king to go so far to protect him. The attacker keeps up his assault, hurling bone spears and spikes. The king continues to fend him off and shield Gao Ying. With a burst of power, the king lands a devastating punch that sends the attacker crashing backward. However, the attacker quickly rises again. His body erupts with small bone spikes that float mid-air before shooting toward Gao Ying. Just as the spikes are about to strike, the king suddenly vanishes and reappears behind the attacker, restraining him instantly. The floating spikes freeze mid-air and crumble to dust. Realizing his defeat, the attacker pleads for mercy. He explains his family was slaughtered by a man who used the Tai Sui Ding Zhen, a cursed artifact that doomed him to his current demonic form. Hearing this, the king stops his attack and releases him. The scene shifts to a snow-covered village in the past. Inside a dim house, a corpse lies in a coffin, its face covered. An old woman enters, speaking softly about how she begged an immortal for medicine to save her dying child. Her son returns with a strange remedy, Tai Sui Ding Zhen, said to restore life and death. Following the instructions, she places the medicine on her son's chest, pierces it with a silver needle, and waits 7 days before removing it at midnight. On the 7th night, the young man awakens inside the coffin. His hands are drenched in blood. Horrified, he sees his entire family lying dead, including his mother clutching the silver needle. He looks down to find a glowing red mark on his chest. At the sound of a distant gong, he staggers out of the house into the snowy forest. He's wandered endlessly since that night, cursed and alone. Back in the present, the king places his hand on the cursed man's head. Both vanish before Gao Ying's eyes. He's confused and worried about where they went. The next moment, they reappear deep within the Bagua formation beneath the building. Red lines swirl violently. The cursed man laughs in excitement, believing he's absorbing divine energy. But soon, his joy turns to horror as the red lines tighten around him, draining his life force. Within seconds, his body shrivels into a dried husk, lifeless under the crimson glow. Later that night, his severed head falls from the rooftop, startling the businessman below who had been plotting with him. On the rooftop, Gao Ying and the king stand together as Uncle Guan arrives. Overcome with emotion, Uncle Guan rushes forward, embracing the ancient king with tears of joy. Ah Hua soon joins them. She's unharmed. She explains that after regaining consciousness, both she and the female intruder woke up at the same time. When the intruder tried to escape through the window, Ah Hua threw her slipper, sending her crashing out from the 5th floor. Gao Ying can only stare in disbelief. Moments later, the black man arrives, nunchaku in hand, striking poses like Bruce Lee. But the relief doesn't last. Suddenly, the attacker, now grotesquely reanimated, appears once more. He rushes past the businessman's body and drives a sharp bone spike into Gao Ying's neck. The king reacts instantly, seizing the attacker by the throat. Uncle Guan grabs Gao Ying to stop the bleeding. The black man panics, unsure what to do. In a flash of lightning, the king unleashes a powerful strike that obliterates the attacker completely. The silver needle on his chest shatters to dust. As the storm rages overhead, Gao Ying weakly closes his eyes. His body falls limp in Uncle Guan's arms. The attacker weakly tries to make a call at a phone booth. He reports he's been badly injured by the king and asks for help. However, the person on the other end coldly refuses. He's not worthy of another Tai Sui nail. The call ends without emotion. Meanwhile, the caller watches a white bird trapped inside a cage. Everyone has their own fate. Just like the bird destined to live in captivity, and the chosen one destined to fall before a powerful being. As he feeds the bird, he notes the Tai Sui fusion still needs more time. Then he realizes the bird pecks at his palm instead of the grains. Elsewhere, Gao Ying wakes up and finds himself once again inside the formation with the king. He touches his neck in confusion, wondering if he's dead. The king states he cannot and will never die. The king of Jinan explains to Gao Ying that, according to ancient belief, anyone who eats the Tai Sui can gain immortality, lightness, and long life. However, no one truly knows Tai Sui originates from the dead. Gao Ying realizes this from the eerie aura surrounding it. It fills him with fear. The king reveals it was the Tai Sui that brought him back to life. Shocked, Gao Ying listens as he further explains that on the previous night at the Central Plains, he would have been buried beneath the lake if not for Tai Sui's power. He then understands what he experienced that night was not a dream. The king tells him Tai Sui reshaped his body and revived him, making him part of Tai Sui itself. Although he struggles to believe what he hears, he can't understand how he was revived without realizing it. Why did Tai Sui choose to save him? The king tells him it was because Tai Sui chose him as a living sacrifice. This revelation terrifies him even more. He wants to reject the Tai Sui aura surrounding him. Despite his resistance, the king insists Tai Sui is actually pleased because he's now connected to it. That's why it stays near him. Gao Ying, uninterested and disturbed, decides to leave. He thinks about returning to school the next day. However, the king warns him he can't escape since the place now belongs to Tai Sui. Ignoring the warning, he packs his belongings and tries to leave the next morning. At first, he's relieved when he manages to step outside freely and quickly runs off with his luggage. But before he can go far, he collapses. The Tai Sui aura rises from his legs, forcing Tai Sui to appear before him once more. Paralyzed with fear, he can't stand. Even after that, he keeps trying to escape every day, but each attempt fails as the Tai Sui aura keeps reappearing. Frustrated and desperate, he returns to the king, complaining about being trapped. Yet the king offers no solution. Furious, he storms out into the rain, determined to try again. As he walks under the storm, he receives a message on his phone, but before he can check it, the Tai Sui aura appears again. He falls in pain, unable to move, and throws his phone aside as the rain pours over it. As he lies groaning in pain on the ground, someone appears holding an umbrella, shielding him from the rain. When he looks up, he realizes it's the king. The king hands him a talisman. It's called the Tai Sui Soul Gathering Talisman, which can keep his body alive and also allow him to leave the house safely. The king tries to warn him about something important regarding the talisman, but Gao Ying, overjoyed by the news, doesn't wait to listen. Instead, he hugs the king in gratitude and thanks him for his kindness. He promises to return to the hotel once he finishes his report. The king is speechless as he watches him go. After leaving, he reaches the area near his school and pauses to think about how he can avoid going back to the hotel. While standing there, a banner on a nearby wall catches his attention. As he reads it, he remembers he has some food in his bag. He eats it while hoping he's finally free from Tai Sui's curse. When he arrives at school, he writes his report and later visits the secretary to request a leave of absence. The secretary agrees. He feels relieved. He needs time to handle the situation. Right after leaving school, he goes to a print shop and asks for 100 copies of the talisman to be printed. He plans to abandon school completely since he knows his life is in danger. Later, he boards a bus, silently saying goodbye to his school. As the bus moves, he leans back and falls asleep. However, a man passing by gives off a strange presence that triggers his instincts, waking him abruptly. Suddenly, the Tai Sui aura manifests again, sprouting wings from his hand. It tries to attack the elderly man sitting nearby. He struggles intensely to restrain it until he finally manages to suppress it. Just as he thinks it's over, the wings burst out again from his waist and nearly consume the old man. He quickly grabs the wings and presses them against the bus window above the man's head. The old man, unable to see the wings, becomes alarmed, thinking he's acting aggressively toward him. Realizing the misunderstanding, he slowly withdraws his hand. At that moment, the bus announces the next stop. He gets off immediately. After leaving the bus, he rushes into a nearby building and hides in the restroom, determined to deal with the Tai Sui forming on his body. However, the situation worsens as the wings grow uncontrollably, taking over his body and extending up to the ceiling, even cutting off the building's power. An elderly cleaner hears the commotion and tries to help, despite not knowing what's happening. He tells him to stay away, but the man insists and forces the door open, only to be horrified by what he sees. As he tries to flee, Tai Sui's wings lash out and catch him. All the Tai Sui wings that appeared around him turn out to be the work of the king. He had secretly followed him to the building and intentionally caused the wings to manifest as a way to test the true strength and reaction of Tai Sui's power within him. However, when the wings attacked the innocent cleaner, the king immediately intervenes. He cuts off the connection between the wings and the old man, allowing the man to escape unharmed. After witnessing how much he suffered because of Tai Sui's influence, the king finally decides to release him from the torment. Soon after, the bald-headed man from the hotel also arrives at the scene. To cover up what happened, he tells the frightened cleaner that a movie was being filmed in the building. Everything was part of the production. He then advises the man to take the rest of the day off. The king, on the other hand, understands that leaving Tai Sui's shrine for too long can cause a person's body to collapse. Yet he notices Gao Ying's case is unusual. Despite experiencing temporary collapse, he still manages to survive. The king brings him back to the shrine to stabilize his condition. Meanwhile, the mysterious man who had passed by him on the bus earlier is now seen nearby, standing on top of a building close to the Tai Sui shrine, silently observing the situation. At the sound of a bell within a sacred shrine, Yidong, the same man seen earlier and known as the Tai Sui of Zhongyuan, releases the seal that had been placed there. A woman approaches him. He asks for her help in breaking the seal he's holding, promising to give her the information she seeks in return. Meanwhile, Gao Ying, who had fainted earlier, wakes up again as Tai Sui's presence begins to disturb him. Confused and alarmed, he asks the king why Tai Sui still appears, despite the talisman he was given. The king explains the talisman's power lasts only 3 hours and has a limited shelf life. He warns Gao Ying that when the talisman loses its effect, his body and soul are at great risk of being consumed. Hearing this, he becomes frightened and begs for a few more talismans. However, the king ignores his request and walks away. He tries again, saying he needs one just to buy some fruits and snacks from the market, but the king dismisses him, telling him not to bother. Despite the danger he faces, he tries to distract himself by reading manga, yet deep down he knows he can't just stay in the house waiting for death. He must find a way to get more talismans. After some thought, he stops reading and decides to investigate his surroundings. While searching under his bed, he discovers a frightening painting of the man who had previously appeared in his room. Puzzled and uneasy, he wonders what kind of evil deeds this man named Guating might have committed. As he continues to look around, he spots a small sealed paper on the floor. Opening it, he finds a map inside. Determined to uncover its meaning, he leaves the hotel with his talisman and follows the map. which leads him to a notable building in Nanting Village. His acquaintance Andy mentions it's one of the most iconic places in the area. When he examines the building closely, he notices the symbol on the map matches the emblem on his talisman, hinting at a possible connection. He then remembers the king's warning. The talisman's effect only lasts 3 hours. Checking the time, he realizes it's already past 10 p.m. He has less than an hour before it expires. Urgently, he begins searching the area for clues. As he runs his hand across the wall of the building, the Tai Sui wings suddenly appear, swirling around the logo engraved on the wall. Startled, he quickly pulls his hand away. The wings vanish instantly. Realizing there's something significant about the symbol, he rushes back to Andy and asks for help, climbing to the top of the building. Though hesitant at first, Andy eventually agrees after repeated requests. When he reaches the rooftop, he touches the logo again to investigate whether it's some kind of explosive or mechanism. Upon contact, the Tai Sui aura bursts out, flooding the surroundings with a glowing red light. Only he can see it, while Andy remains unaware of what's happening. As he tries to pull his hand away from the glowing logo, the entire building begins to shake violently. The same bell that rang earlier echoes through the air once again. Moments later, the ground beneath them starts to crack open. The building begins to rise from its foundation as if being uprooted by an unseen force. Andy panics, realizing something Gao did must have triggered the event. Both cling tightly to a pillar, hoping to survive, but the structure soon collapses, sending them both plunging into a nearby river. They struggle in the rushing water until they're swept into a hidden chamber made entirely of stone. Gao is the first to regain his strength and looks upward to see large rocks forming the ceiling above the water, showing just how deep they've fallen. He realizes they must be beneath the old archway. Soon after, Andy regains consciousness, coughing and gasping for air. Gao quickly helps him up and checks if he's all right. Together, they begin searching the underground area for an exit. Eventually, they find a passage marked with insulting words carved into the walls. As he reads them, he suspects they're directed at the same man named Guating. Once again, he wonders who this person truly is. While exploring, Andy tries to use his phone to search for information online, but he's shocked to see his battery has drained almost instantly. Uneasy, he asks Gao if someone else might be in the chamber with them, but Gao brushes it off, insisting they focus on finding a way out. As they continue walking, a sudden flash of light bursts in the darkness. Without knowing what it is, both prepare themselves to fight. Out of the light, a mysterious man appears and begins speaking to them. Before they can make sense of the situation, a group of immortals materializes and charges toward them. Andy, also known as Hua Zai, fights back, kicking several of them down, but to his shock, the immortals rise again unharmed. Realizing they can't win, he and Gao turn and run for their lives. The mysterious man joins them. The chase grows intense as the immortals close in. Desperate, Andy speeds ahead. The stranger follows him, leaving Gao behind. Feeling betrayed and exhausted, he collapses to the ground, unable to continue. The immortals quickly surround him and prepare to strike. Just then, Andy and the man return, kicking the attackers away to save him. For a moment, he thinks they came to help him, but before he can react, they sprint off again in another direction. Confused and frightened, he sees even more immortals emerging from the opposite side of the passage, forcing him to get up and run after them once more. Eventually, the man leads them to the end of a tunnel and claims there's a hidden entrance there. Although no doorway is visible, he insists there's a mechanism built into the wall. Gao examines the area carefully and discovers the man is right. There is indeed a concealed structure within the stone. As they try to figure out the mechanism on the wall, the immortals suddenly appear again. This time, they're trapped at a dead end with no way to escape. Panic spreads among them as the immortals slowly approach. In that tense moment, Gao senses something on the wall and notices the familiar glowing symbol. Acting quickly, he places both hands on it while keeping his eyes on the approaching enemies. Without warning, a large trapdoor opens beneath the immortals. They all fall through it, disappearing into the darkness below. Gao and Andy breathe in relief, realizing they've narrowly escaped death. The mysterious man then tells them there's another hidden passage nearby. He leads them to it. As they step inside, they find themselves surrounded by total darkness. Moments later, the man switches on a flashlight he brought along and begins guiding them deeper into the underground area. His familiarity with the place surprises Andy, who starts wondering how the man seems to know every corner of the structure. Eventually, the man introduces himself as Leonardo da Vinci, an archaeologist who came to study the ancient Garja clan. While explaining, Leonardo notices a strange emblem on the wall and calls their attention to it. Gao recognizes the pattern immediately. It's the same symbol he's been seeing everywhere, though he never knew it was connected to the Garja clan until now. Curious, he asks what the clan has to do with the place. Leonardo explains they're standing within what used to be Nanting Village. Gao becomes even more puzzled. Leonardo clarifies that the underground building is actually the true Nanting Village. He explains that long ago, the entire city was buried alive during a great disaster, which turned it into an underground ruin. According to Leonardo, this tragedy occurred during the reign of the second king of Jenin, Guairilla Yinting. When Gao hears the name, he becomes uneasy and asks why everything seems to revolve around that man. Leonardo explains that Guairilla, also known as Guating, was infamous for murdering his brother, his family, and even burying his people alive to seize the throne. The underground place they now stand in is called the Gathering Spirit Altar, built over the vengeful souls of those he slaughtered. Hearing this, he becomes deeply confused, struggling to believe that the same king he once knew could be responsible for such cruelty. The memories he shared with the king make it difficult to accept. Leonardo notices his confusion and explains the king's motives went beyond the throne. He had an even greater ambition. Before Leonardo can reveal what that ambition was, the air trembles. The king himself appears before them, facing two immortals. To their shock, the king calls the two immortals his brothers. They lower their swords, bowing before him in silent respect. A massive Guardia symbol shines on the ceiling. Everyone gazes up at it. The archaeologist recounts the legend of the Great Sai and its birthplace, Yinjin, a land of eternal darkness. To gain the Great Sai, one must endure intense emotions like pain, anger, and hatred to suppress its power. The story tells how the king of Jinan raised the beast Tai Sui, Yingting, by sacrificing countless lives, turning it into a creature of hell. Yet the archaeologist believes the story is more complex. The king once tried to teach the beast the art of reincarnation. Meanwhile, the king of Jinan fights two colossal guardian statues at the temple's entrance. He dodges their heavy strikes, landing on the water below. He spots an open doorway and rushes toward it, but the statues attack relentlessly and force him back. For a brief moment, he recalls his childhood, when his two older brothers used to play with him. In the present, one of the gargoyles lunges at him. He evades the attack and prepares to strike, but hesitates, giving the gargoyle an opening. A powerful blow sends him crashing into the rock wall. He rises with determination and uses his eye technique to see beyond the entrance. He spots Gao Ying and the others ahead. He grips his spear tightly, silently apologizing to his hell brothers, the gargoyles, before charging forward. His movements turn fierce as he clashes head-on with the gargoyle, spear against stone, in a violent and desperate battle. Gao Ying suggests using the moment to confirm with the king of Zhenan if the archaeologist's story is true. But the archaeologist insists the king of hell is actually Yingting's spirit. Gao Ying and Andy are shocked. Gao Ying, frustrated, points out that as a scientist, the archaeologist should speak with reason, not superstition. Ignoring the remark, the archaeologist activates a hidden mechanism that opens a new passage. Inside, a massive wall covered in strange patterns is revealed. He explains that thousands of years ago, Tai Sui descended to Earth along with countless meteorites. A great hero then used those meteorites to build a cage to seal the creature. Later, a giant rock pagoda was constructed around it. The patterns on the wall record the history of Gua He Jia Temple and the legend of Tai Sui. According to the ancient text, over 2,000 years ago, Tai Sui came to destroy the world. But demons and evil spirits managed to kill it, restoring peace to the land. Remembering his encounter with the king of Zhenan at the Pagoda Shrine, Gao Ying wonders if Guating could be the so-called man of the sky. The archaeologist, irritated by the question, almost strikes Gao Ying, but stops himself. He shines his torch on another wall illustration and explains that Yingting was known as a ruthless and treacherous man. It's impossible for him to be the man of the sky. Still, Gao Ying struggles to accept this. He recalls how the king of Jinan once saved him. He begins to suspect there might be some misunderstanding. At the same time, the king of Zhenan continues his battle with the gargoyles. He charges forward and nearly pierces one's eye with his weapon, but stops himself. He can't strike the finishing blow. As the creature retaliates, he leaps back to avoid it and quickly activates a binding formation. The circle traps the gargoyles, who fight to break free. With a determined expression, he claps his hands together. A powerful force smashes the two gargoyles against each other, finally defeating them. Gao Ying's group grows tense as they enter a dark chamber lined with standing female corpses dressed in red. The archaeologist calmly tells them not to worry. They're only corpses. He walks ahead saying that long ago, Tai Sui killed countless people and chose a girl named Bi Lin Hua to be his wife. As a sacrifice, she killed Tai Sui. The hatred and fear of the victims turned into the curse surrounding these bodies. Gao Ying and Andy carefully follow, their steps slow and cautious. They don't notice that one of the corpses behind them begins to move slightly. The archaeologist reassures them again. There's no danger as long as the bodies remain untouched. Suddenly, a chill runs through Gao Ying. He turns around and sees the corpses now facing them, their mouths opening to reveal sharp fangs. At the same time, the king of Jinan encounters a similar figure. A female corpse floats before him with her belly glowing. She attacks fiercely, forcing him into combat. Meanwhile, Gao Ying's group flees down the corridor. He demands to know what's happening. The archaeologist insists they remain calm and believe in science. Ghosts can't exist, but the corpses give chase, their glowing bellies releasing bursts of energy that explode around them. Gao Ying and the others dodge the attacks while running for their lives. In the chaos, Gao Ying notices a red thread connecting and controlling the corpses. The archaeologist insists the phenomenon is caused by electromagnetic waves. Andy sprints ahead at full speed, leaving the others behind. The archaeologist warns Gao Ying the spirits haven't even revealed their full strength yet. When he glances back, his face pales. Ghostly knights emerge from the shadows, joining the corpses in relentless pursuit. The archaeologist assures the group the ghosts lack the intelligence to kill them. His words seem true when they make a sharp right turn through the underground corridor. The female corpses fail to follow and continue straight ahead. Only the ghost knights manage to turn and pursue. Suddenly, the archaeologist halts and faces the incoming spirits. He removes his coat. His body bulks up with muscle before he unleashes a massive blast of firepower that blows the ghost knights apart. Gao Ying is momentarily impressed by the display. He thinks the archaeologist should have used such strength earlier. But their relief is short-lived. The ghost knights reappear, still chasing them. Gao Ying shouts for the archaeologist to attack again, only to hear his weapon's energy is already used up. With no choice, they keep running through the twisting tunnels until they reach a network of paths, branching in several directions. The archaeologist warns that choosing the wrong way means certain death. Panic builds as the sound of armored footsteps echoes closer. Desperate, Gao Ying grabs the archaeologist and drags him down one of the paths at random. It leads to a dead end at the edge of a cliff. He nearly slips off but is saved by the archaeologist's quick grab. Spotting a narrow bridge nearby, the archaeologist urges him to keep running. The ghost knights are right behind them. They sprint across the bridge as the knights charge forward. Some fall off the cliff into the abyss below. At the other side, Gao Ying catches his breath and asks where the bridge leads. The archaeologist explains it connects to the legendary Shen Kong. They gaze at a massive stone archway ahead. The archaeologist smiles with satisfaction, certain he was correct. But as Gao Ying steps toward the entrance, the talisman in his pocket burns out. Its protective power is gone. In that instant, the sealed Tai Sui begins to awaken. Its ominous presence breaks free once again.